I have my pink pick.
Good.
Hey everyone, Chris is back.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me again today.
Yeah. Yep.
We have a bunch of guitars, but the ones that we're going to talk about here are Harley Benton guitars. Harley Benton are a brand by Thomann. It's a music store in Germany. Anyway, so you're having a Strat Style?
Yep. Tele style. Les Paul style.
Very different guitars, and I thought it would be interesting to talk about the differences, the strengths maybe the things that are not necessarily used with these guitars, although they're all versatile in their own way.
Sure.
Chris is an engineer too. You've done a lot of engineering work, recording and stuff, so I thought it would be good to have that perspective here.
One thing I notice about these different styles from the recording and writing standpoint is that they all sort of make you want to do different things.
Yeah.
They have this way about them, and a lot of it's because of what's been ingrained in our ears as we've listened to different artists do different things with these type of guitars. But each one of these, you can have sort of the same amp sound, maybe tweak it a little bit here and there, and you plug in a different guitar to that same amp sound, and it draws out different sorts of playing. So that's what we hope to demonstrate largely today, you know, talking about the strengths and the differences, but also just sort of observing, you know, we've got two basic amp sounds with a little bit of overdrive in each one, and plugging them in, jamming a little bit, getting a taste for, oh yeah, that's a Tele sound, or oh yeah, that's a Les Paul sound, and that's why the playing comes off that way, right? So that's a big part of what we're going to be doing.
I think so, and you're right. It's like when I first picked up a guitar, I was the Strat Style. I went with the Strat because I think the guy who made me really want to get serious about electric guitar was Satriani.
Okay.
Plays Ibanez, but it's more in the Super Strat, you know, family of guitars.
Yep.
Were you the same way when you started?
Yeah. I started with an Ibanez, you know, a real basic Ibanez with the HSS setup.
Yeah.
And I started also, you know, watching Satriani, and you know, I wanted something like that. But as the years have gone by, I've noticed the variety in timbre from having, you know, for example, a 3-single coil setup, or a Tele sort of setup, or a Les Paul setup. And I think that's one of the, you know, the playability and the difference in scales and stuff like that is one thing, but we're really talking about 3 iconic sounds. Yeah. And those sounds have made their way into virtually every record you and I have really ever listened to.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
well, how about we start with the Strat Style, which is plugged into, I think we're going through the Mesa Boogie right now. Yep. Kind of a clean, break-up-y.
Yeah, it's just it's a little broken up. Now, to me, the Strat on the neck screams this. You hear that glassy, just that pick attack, that single coil pick attack. Now, if you were to compare that with the pick attack on the Les Paul, it's going to be very, very different sounding. But you know, you start jamming on a riff like a. It's got that nice sizzle on the top. You do that exact same thing on the Les Paul, and it's not going to beg that kind of playing.
I think we should try.
Yeah, let's try it.
Let's try it. Yeah. So same amp, same settings, and here I'll switch to the Chris cam.
Here, you hold this one.
Okay. So what you just played, the Stevie Ray Vaughan type of, you know, shuffle type of thing, that's, when I see a Strat, that's what I think of. I don't think of that on a Les Paul, but it would be interesting to play a little bit with this.
So much more vocal sounding. There's a singability that comes with the Les Paul. But you try that same riff, and I'm, just to be fair, I'm going to be on the neck here.
Okay.
even the scale, the fact that the bridge is up this way.
Yeah.
You know, you have to adjust to that, of course, real quick, because it's a little shorter than the Strat.
Right, yeah.
But it doesn't play the same. Now, you want to do... You want to do something like that.
Yeah.
And you're going to be happy that you have this double humbucker sort of sound.
Yeah. Yeah. I think something about Les Paul style guitars, first of all, they're heavier typically. They're woodier. There's more there, and you can really hear it. When you were playing, it sounded a little bassier to me, fuller in some way. Not in the other one was not full. It was full of other stuff.
Right.
It's hard to describe, but you can, yeah.
Sizzly, shimmery, I would describe the Strat. And vocal, warm.
Warm is a good word, yes.
And the sustain, you can get great sustain out of both guitars, but the humbucking sound is gonna do a lot for that.
Yep.
Ooh,
right.
sort of sound.
Yeah, and the wood itself, the resonance that it's gonna have carry through the pickups.
Well, and we should note that this is there's no bolt.
Right.
And that does have something to do with the way that the sound travels from what's being done on the neck down to the pickups. You know, where you've got the bolt
Whereas
here.
this one, yeah, we do have.
And it's neither is a bad sound.
No.
It's just it's what makes that sound that sound. That's how they've been built forever.
Yeah, and it's interesting how, like, I would not have thought that the bolt itself had an influence on the tone of that you're getting out of it, but every little element seems to have little part in the overall sound.
Right.
So what you just played there, that shuffle thing, is that typically what you'd start playing on if you picked up a Strat in the store or something, would you kind of go for that vibe?
To me, that's my test on how bitey can this guitar get. And Strats are bitey, you know? I play a Strat, and you're doing it too. You know, I play a Strat with more spontaneous pick attack. Just right out of the gate. And you know, that Stevie Ray Vaughan thing is a good example, but what you were doing too there with those little micro rakes and stuff.
Yes,
you know, I
like
like to feel that percussion on a Strat. A Strat is a percussive sounding guitar.
I agree.
Even when it's played with a lot of gain.
Yeah.
And then, you know, for a Les Paul, or something, you know, something with humbuckers, or, you know, even on a cleaner sound, I would tend to do something like, you know, something melodic, something slow, where I'm not capitalizing on the percussion, but more on the quality of the note. You know, how can I get that bend? It's just a sort of a different shift in how I'm thinking about playing because I'm on this particular type of guitar.
Yeah, I feel the same. Now, one thing, and I don't think this is perceived as this, but I want to just reinforce that we're not saying you should play this on a Strat or you should play this on a Les Paul. But there is a different approach when you're picking up one of these instruments. You tend to play differently, I agree. Yeah.
I sort of think about it as, particularly when you're coming from a songwriting point of view or an arranging point of view, likening it to a painter with different colors on his palette. You know, it's the same painter, it's the same, you know, arm and the same brush technique and stuff like that, but he's going to reach for, you know, blue if he wants something specific. He's going to reach for green if he wants something specific. But in a lot of painting, color selection is somewhat subjective anyway, right? But whatever that artist, you know, however that artist feels about blue or green or red, he's going to use that in certain ways given his perceptions.
Yeah. I feel that, I don't know if there's something true to that or just my imagination. When I'm playing a Les Paul style, a note, well, you can make it sound different ways, but I feel that you can make it sound even more dramatic ways with this kind of guitar. I don't know if it's the pickups, but you know, got that pitch, and then when you attack, it feels like maybe the gain comes in the dynamics are. I could hear it there too.
Yeah, but there's a.
It's different.
There's a consistency here that there's not with there.
Yeah. Yes.
Even on something that simple, like getting your pick attack.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you played that same sort of thing.
I hear more things happening.
There's more harmonics.
Maybe a little more wildness in a way. It's, I don't know. But anyways, it's different.
Yeah. So one of the things about this different color thing that we're talking about is using them together and what sorts of things that inspires. And a lot of times what I'll do when I'm selecting guitars for different roles in an arrangement is I'll select the Les Paul to cover the bass or the bottom. Not bass as in bass guitar,
right?
But it's going to be here if I'm using my hands to gesture effectively.
You're doing it very well. I'm impressed.
Whereas the Strat is going to be, so if the Les Paul is here, the Strat is going to be here.
Yeah.
And the Les Paul would feel and sound wider. The Strat would sound tinklier, sizzlier, both in tone and how they're played. So if I'm doing something like this, if I'm doing just a simple rhythm like that, that's something that I would love to do on a Les Paul. You know, emphasize those low strings. I might play that a little differently on the Strat.
Right.
But you try playing that very same thing on the Strat. Now, so if we both play that exact same thing together, it's incredible how it sounds. We get the best of both worlds. And then what you can do in a recording environment is you can say, okay, Les Paul's here, Strats here.
Yeah.
And then if you're really cool, you could double them all again. You play a version of the Les Paul on both sides and play a version of the Strat on both sides.
Yeah.
And you get this really nice, the Les Paul fills a role, the Strat fills a role. You're playing the same sorts of stuff, but man, does it sound cool. Let's try it.
Let's try it. And I'll be on the right, you'll be on the left.
Sure. So there's a couple things going for us there. Two different players, two different interpretations of the same rhythm, two different guitars, two different amp sounds, but very similar amp sounds.
Very similar.
That is just, I mean, you can hear it in the sound, even though we're not playing with a band. I mean, it's big. Now this gets even cooler if we capitalize on the roles of each guitar. And again, there's no wrong answer. This is just, they sound different. How can we creatively be different with them? So if I continue to play that, but you come up with something in this region of the guitar, you know, you're higher, you're sizzlier, I'm not. I'm down here, I'm beefier. What happens? So I'm going to play the same thing.
Okay.
And you're going to be up there somewhere.
Okay.
And it would work to go the other direction too. Let's hear what that sounds like.
Okay.
So they both sort of encourage different things, and you know, we probably don't need to have much commentary on that. It's just, it's neat to have the two different blends, two different playing styles, two different styles of guitars as well.
That's right. And for the longest time when I was getting into recording, and I thought, you know, things needed to be exactly the same. And then I discovered by reading that no, so I replayed them both, but same tone, same pickup, exactly the same as much as I could. some little imperfections would make it a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
But we're really going to more of an extreme here, like 2 different guitars, different amps, different parts. Yeah. Together they create something new.
Right.
And that's cool. I like that.
Okay, I want to try something now.
Okay.
Let's get the Tele in the mix.
Yeah.
I'm going to hand you this.
Okay.
All right, we're set up. Now, what do you think of when you think of Tele?
Well, prior to what happened at some point, which I'll get into, I thought Tele is country, and that's not for me. I like country, but I'm not a country player.
Yeah.
For the longest time. These guys probably know I'm a big Tele fan. You are too.
A huge Tele fan.
But I didn't realize that until I picked the right kind of Tele.
Right. And understood the unique sort of sleeper roles it has. I mean, Teles are sneaky.
Yeah.
They're so good in so many ways, you know. So obviously if there's something that you play on a Strat, which is that Stevie Ray Vaughan thing, or you play like really chunky chords or slash style leads on a Les Paul. For me, when I pick up a Tele, the first sort of thing that I'll do is some spanky 6th sort of thing.
Very spanky. Yeah.
That hybrid picking that the Tele shares with the Strat because of the single coil nature. It shares that dynamic, sizzly sound.
Yeah. Yes.
But it's throatier and it's more mid-rangey, and
it's a very vocal-like sound.
Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily describe it as like a bridge between a Les Paul and a Strat.
No.
But in a way, it functions. It's possible to function in both places and be its own character for sure.
Yes.
Now, one of the things that Teles really do well, and this is where I think both you and I got on them, is they're awesome for heavy music, and especially when blended with a humbucking guitar.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff we just did with the Strat, where we made the sounds complement one another. This is the second thing I do. So the first thing I do is, that. Second thing I do is this. Something like that, and
it's heavy, it's not muddy.
No.
It's very defined, yet it preserves that heaviness that we're after in that kind of music.
Right.
I feel that oftentimes, when you're doing the real heavy thing, sometimes if it's not mixed in with drums and maybe brighter instruments, if you just listen to the rhythm section, it can sound a little muddy, a little dark.
Yeah.
Whereas this doesn't. Like, let me play a little bit. Both tones together complement each other really well. The one I was playing, the Les Paul, just by itself, kind of dark, fat, dark. Yours plays something similar. Oh man, I love this. It's like crunchy, and I just want to bite into it.
Yeah, it makes you sort of want to clear your throat. Yeah.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah.
And both together work really well.
Absolutely. So the Tele is, to me, the definition of less is more when it comes to gain, and you put this sound, and even just doing this. Yeah, that rhythm on that low D.
Right.
It just does something. Makes you make a face, and it's just super awesome sounding.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of gain on this thing. I mean, this is a fairly...
Yeah, it could pass for a clean sound.
Yes. slightly overdriven sort of.
Yeah. It's very defined. You hear all the notes together. You can play a rich chord with that tone. We can hear all the overtones and all the individual notes and pitches.
Yeah.
It's not muddy. It's not blurry. It's very defined.
So typically, what I love to do, if I'm laying down layered, heavy, low-sounding guitars that tend to have some movement, the Tele's my go-to. Number one, because it has a hardtail. You know, the Strat doesn't have a lot of Strats don't have a hardtail, and so doing a spontaneous drop D tuning is difficult. Les Pauls, of course, you can do that with. So what I'll do is I'll typically lay down, if I've got my drums and my bass, and I have a couple scratch guitars, but if I'm laying down the for real guitars at that point, the very first guitar I'll go with is the Tele to lay down those rhythms, and then I'll build around those the humbucking guitars, the Les Pauls, the Ibanez's, stuff like that. But this becomes the pocket guitar. Yeah. This is the one that's right there, sort of defining the spread, defining the rhythm. And a lot of times what I'll end up doing is go, okay, well that sounds great, it's nice and throaty, but I need more beef. Okay, bring in the humbuckers, bring in the Les Paul, and then do something over that. So let's jam a little bit more together, and you can just get a good sense for how these two work together. It's beautiful. I liked what you were doing before.
Yeah. Do it again?
Sure.
Nice.
Cool.
Want to play a game?
Yeah.
All right.
I do.
I got different words, names, things.
Okay.
And to each of these words, you're going to have to associate one of these guitar types. So Strat, Tele, or Les Paul.
Okay.
And you guys can play home too.
Okay.
Okay. So the first one is Keith Richards.
Now wait, is there only one right answer for each one of these?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
We can discuss.
Okay.
But typically, yeah. So we'll say Keith Richards.
Keith Richards.
Rolling Stones.
I'm gonna go with
picture.
I'm gonna go with this style guitar.
Yeah. Very rhythm orientated.
Yeah.
Although I guess he could have done it with anything really.
Sure.
Although I think there's that Rolling Stone sound, and that's pretty Tele, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Cool. What about David Gilmour?
Man, this guy, the Strat. I mean, he defined. He took a Strat. So obviously, there's a lot of percussion that happens.
Yeah.
With David's playing, but the solos that were on those those Pink Floyd records, a lot of his sound came from his active sounding pickups, right? You know, that singing.
Let's grab that.
Yeah. As I'm pointing to the Tele.
Yeah, but yes, the singing quality kind of does a lot of things with the volume too, and those volume are really accessible.
Just the position of the volume pedal, volume knobs really make it work.
Yeah.
Strategically rolling off the tone a little bit. You know, he never was all the way up on those solos. He darkened it up quite a bit.
Yeah.
So Strat for David Gilmour.
Strat, yes. How about Bruce Springsteen?
I'm gonna go with Tele again.
Yeah, yeah. Kind of a Keith Richardy type of digging into the strings and you know, rhythm type of thing.
And we may notice, I don't know, but we may notice that the singer-songwriter oriented guitar players do kind of draw to the Tele.
Yeah, there's a lot of those.
That's a gross generalization, but
but
we'll just say the Tele, like the other ones, but especially the Tele maybe, is a good electric guitar for singer-songwriters.
I agree. Yep, you got it. Okay, I can say this name, but I could also do this and play these 3 notes. Slash.
Right.
So I mean, what is it? Which guitar?
Slash, Guns N' Roses, Les Paul.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, this works. Right? Whereas the others, I don't know. You don't picture Slash.
I'm not even plugged in, but it just doesn't. It doesn't do the same thing at all. It doesn't. That singing quality is not there.
Yeah, he's just like David Gilmour, like defined the Strat. I'm not saying Slash defined the Les Paul, but you wouldn't imagine Slash without this thing.
No, you really wouldn't.
Slash, yes. Okay, here's another one. Jeff Beck.
Strat.
Yeah, all the way. Definitely.
Yeah. You know, but he's another guy like, you know, I don't know if Stevie Ray Vaughan's on your list. We've already covered him, or Eric Clapton. You know, those guys are very stratty.
Yeah.
But they were Jeff Beck had a mellower approach to the Strat, I feel like.
Yeah.
And he also played a Les Paul a lot too. I mean, Blow by Blow.
Right. Yeah.
Our one of our favorite albums of all time.
Yeah.
He was very Les Paulian.
You can see it on the cover.
Well,
I think he's holding one. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a lot of leads that were recorded with a Les Paul on that album, especially. Yeah. So, and it's interesting. You listen to that album, and you can totally pick out. Oh, that was a Les Paul. Oh, that was a Strat.
Yeah.
Oh, that was that particular album. The tones are very transparent in that way.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. All right. The next one. All right. This is a trick one. This is the solo for Stairway to Heaven. The solo section, the famous one.
So, I'm trying to think back to his double neck, like what that was modeled after.
Right.
Because I've seen him do that live, not in person, because I'm young, sort of. And he, of course, loved Les Pauls.
Yeah. Yep.
That solo doesn't sound like a Les Paul. Was it Strat? Was it a Strat?
It was a Tele.
That kind of makes sense, I suppose.
Yeah, but you're right. There is for the longest time nobody really knew. People thought that it was the Les Paul. And no, it was a Telecaster. And now when you hear it, you can kind of tell it's got that.
It does that from that initial bend. It has that throaty sound that we were talking about.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
But so yeah, Teles can be used in so many things. It's crazy. All right, if I say Lester Pulsfuss.
That sounds a little bit like the name Les Paul.
That's right. That's his real name. Yeah.
Is it really?
That's the guy who kind of gave his name to the Les Paul. He was an inventor too. He did a lot of cool stuff, like first multi-track recording.
I did not know that.
He was into that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, Les Paul. He was also, I think, I want to say in the 30s. I think the Les Paul came out in the 40s.
Okay.
And in the 30s, he was, I mean, he still is great guitar player, or was. But yeah, he was like one of those guitar heroes back in the 30s.
And made his own guitar.
Right, exactly.
That's cool.
And still today, Les Paul. Okay, what if I say Purple Haze?
Hendrix.
Yeah.
Strat.
One of those guys too who played Les Pauls too.
Yeah, he did.
But yeah, the Strat is kind of like Jimmy's thing, I guess.
Yeah, right. And that sound too is, you know, for his time, and that was a lot of gain.
Yeah.
To put on a Strat.
Yeah.
You know, you look at Stevie Ray Vaughan and Clapton, and then you look at Hendrix, and again, if we're thinking in colors, you know, Hendrix was darker. And more aggressive, and you know, a lot of that was the fuzz pedal.
Yeah.
You know, these other Strat guys around that same time didn't fuzz it up. And so with a fuzz pedal and a Strat, you actually lose quite a bit of that glassy, sizzly sound that you'd hear out of Stevie Ray Vaughan or Eric Clapton. And you get it pulls it a little bit more towards what you might hear out of a humbucker, although it's still not the same.
Right.
You know, a fuzz pedal and a single coil is a very unique sound. But it's that fold back distortion sound that with the Strat that makes Hendrix Hendrix. For sure.
Yeah, I think, you know, the Strat, I would say, was probably designed with the idea of cleaner tones in mind.
Sure.
Single coils, and then with Hendrix and all those guys, like high gain, it becomes this new thing that's very hard to control.
Right.
And with being in that musical state where you have to control this thing, it kind of forces you to make other decisions and almost use like some of the things that you like the feedback, but use it in different ways. And I think that was a lot of Hendrix's strengths and innovations at the time.
Well, and that explains too the huge emphasis, you know, in modern times of having the Strat setup with noiseless pickups.
Yeah.
You know, I think Hendrix really started that, like, oh, here's a guitar that's meant to be played, like you're saying, meant to be played cleaner, and let's put a lot of distortion on it. And then other guitar players started imitating it and mimicking what he was doing, and man, these things are noisy. Yeah. And so, you know, pickup manufacturers started, oh, well, let's try to capture that sound. And I don't really feel like it was till pretty recently, meaning the last 20 years maybe, that they've made some really good noiseless pickups that still have almost the shimmer of those original, you know, truly single wound. Yeah. You know, because it's important to note that a single coil noiseless sound they're actually humbuckers. They're not side by side like a Les Paul would be, but they're like this. And so they are wound extra, and they have the hum canceling sound. And it took a while for people to get that sound that, oh, it sounds sort of like a single coil, but there's no noise.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right, next guy.
Okay, next one is Zakk Wylde.
Oh, I should know this.
And think of so there's a pre-Zakk Wylde today, skinny guy, you know, with Ozzy, and there's Zakk Wylde now.
Right.
So think of
Zakk Wylde now.
Yeah, a character. He's a big guy.
Sure.
He's
Strat.
Beefy, or
he's beefier than a Strat, right? Especially now.
It's this.
It's a Les Paul.
Les Paul, yeah. Okay. Heavy. I think Les Paul goes well with the character. But
what he's doing, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So Les Paul, and then here's a song, "Cliffs of Dover," and that's.
We just went and saw this guy.
We just saw him. Yeah.
Great Eric concert. Great concert. Yeah, Eric Johnson. Now he plays Les Pauls, he plays Teles.
He does.
He played all three when we...
Yeah, he's one of those guys who is, I could picture him with all three. Yeah. And he does it really well.
He's another guy like David Gilmour who makes that Strat just sing.
Yeah.
You know, he makes all the guitars sing. You know, ultimately, and this is a great place to land, right? Yeah. Ultimately, tone is in the fingers. Yeah. You know, these are tools. They're colors on a palette, like we talked about earlier. They inspire different things. Hopefully, the loose jamming that David and I did helped you get a feel for those sorts of things. But it is so fun to have multiple sounds of guitars, just like multiple amps, just like multiple pedals. But I almost feel like a lot of guitar players, they buy a guitar, and then they buy pedals and amps, but they don't have many guitars. Like, if I were to go back and do it over again, knowing the fun it is to pick up a different guitar with a different setup, I'd probably do it the opposite. Yeah. I'd probably have like one amp and a couple pedals, and a Strat, a Tele, a Les Paul, and something with a floating bridge and humbuckers. You know, I'd probably do that, and which is not what I did. When I first started, it was, I got my guitar. This is the guitar I'm going to have for life. Yeah. And then I'm going to have my multi-effects box and my amp, and my pedal, you know, big bit of pedals, and better buy that wah pedal, you know, and the 812 stack. Right. You know, I bought all that stuff before I even bought my second guitar. Yeah. And I wouldn't do that again. I would go the other way.
Yeah, I agree. Same. It took me, same. Do you still have that first guitar?
No.
Yeah.
No,
I don't have my first either.
I traded it.
Yeah, I did too. It's somewhere in France. I don't know where. But I did. It was an old, like, cheap guitar. But 16-year-old me, when I traded it in, removed the plate in the back and I signed my name. So
that's
if you have a Mad Axe 2 somewhere in France, unscrew it and see if you have it. I'll buy it from you.
That would be
I'd like
cool.
to see it. Cool. That was fun. What do you think of these Harley Bentons?
I'm impressed. And not just because you asked me to come over here and do a video
Right.
on these guitars.
And paid you millions of dollars
Right.
to do it, but, which is not true.
But I really am impressed. The sound of the pickups did what a Strat should do.
Yeah.
You know, on all three. You know, I feel like they did what they should do. The playability, the feel of the neck is good. They stayed in tune.
Yeah, that's what drew me to them when I first tried these models. The first one I tried was a Tele back in Germany, and I didn't know. I just knew that it was the Thomann brand.
Yeah, sure.
And I played it, and I was like, "Oh man, that's awesome! It feels like a high-end guitar." And I thought it was. I didn't know. And then all of these are under, I think, the most expensive I think is this one. It's like $230.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't have guessed that.
It's crazy.
I would have guessed in the $400.
Yeah.
Or you know, maybe somewhere around there. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like
It's pretty awesome. And I like the finishes too. I mean, they're unique to be. We're not trying to emulate the look of, well, obviously the body design looks like Strat and stuff like that, but they did their own nice touches, like, you know, this brushed metal pick guard and this you know,
like a
leather
paisley type of
leather paisley thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool looking too.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I like them too. Well, thanks for jamming with me and talking about guitars. It was fun.
Yep.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. I'll leave all the links to the guitars and anything I can I can think of in the description of the video. Guitar related. You know, you'll see more of Chris soon. We have an announcement soon.
we do.
Stay tuned. Thanks, everyone. Subscribe if you haven't already. 3 videos every week like this one. Helping guitar players like you become better players, and you and me too.
Yeah.
Anyways, thanks guys. See you soon. Bye.
It was podcast flavored.